She leans in a little closer, laughs a little louder, asks a question she already knows the answer to, just to keep the exchange alive. And he stays exactly the same: calm, kind, present, unrushed, not cold, not rude, just not available to be pulled. At first, she tells herself it means nothing. Maybe he's tired. Maybe he's shy. Maybe he didn't notice. Then the silence stretches, and something subtle happens inside her. Her mind starts sprinting. Confusion turns into irritation. Irritation turns into urgency. And urgency turns into something she didn't expect to feel over a man who hasn't done anything wrong. Panic. Because this is the moment modern dating flips. The moment the man who used to chase simply stops. Not with bitterness, not with a tantrum, not with a speech. He just redirects his attention away from places where it wasn't respected. There's a quiet change moving through dating right now. It isn't loud, it isn't dramatic, but it's unmistakable if you're paying attention. Men aren't pulling back because they hate women. They're pulling back because they're getting smarter about where their energy goes. They're not ghosting as a tactic. They're not punishing. They're not playing games. They're simply refusing to overinvest by default. And to understand why this matters, why it triggers such a strong emotional reaction in certain women, you have to understand what male attention has been for the last decade. For years, male attention functioned like a public resource: overflowing, automatic, cheap, always available. A woman could post a photo and expect instant validation. A low effort message could still get a long, thoughtful response. A cold mood could still get chased. A half commitment could still receive full commitment from the man. Minimal effort often earned maximum reward. That system is collapsing, not overnight, quietly. Men scroll without reacting. They don't comment. They don't chase by reflex. They don't reward indifference with effort. They don't purchase access with endless validation. They've learned something that changes everything. Attention is currency, and they've been giving it away like it's worthless. This is where the misunderstanding starts. Many women look at this new calm distance and assume men have become emotionally unavailable, detached, cold, unhealed. They read the silence as avoidance or trauma. Many men look at the sudden confusion, how urgency appears only after he stops giving attention, and assume women feel entitled to male investment. Two groups watching the same moment, interpreting it in completely different ways, but only one group feels genuinely threatened by the shift: the people who relied on predictable, guaranteed male validation. Because when men stop offering attention automatically, the entire power structure tilts. Suddenly, effort matters, interest matters, reciprocity matters, character matters. The ability to actually build a connection matters. And for anyone who was coasting on the old system, this feels like the ground moving. Let's paint the scene. She walks into a room with the kind of confidence that usually bends the energy toward her. Not arrogance, social certainty, the slight smile, the slow glance, the small cues she's practiced her whole life. Across the room, a man notices, and nothing happens. He doesn't light up. He doesn't lean forward. He doesn't perform. He's polite, warm, present, but unmoved. No sudden shift in posture, no audition, no hunger. That's when the first crack appears. Because the moment a woman realizes her usual signals aren't landing, the script she's relied on stops working. At first, she isn't offended. She's confused. Then the confusion becomes irritation. Then irritation becomes panic. Not because he rejected her. He didn't. He simply didn't offer the expected reaction in the first place. Most women don't consciously understand this, but their feedback loop, how they measure social impact, has been calibrated since childhood through predictable male reactions. Compliments, extra attention, doors held, smiles, DMs, stares, immediate responsiveness, effort that arrives before she invests anything, so when a man remains neutral, the feedback loop glitches. It's not rejection, it's absence, and absence is powerful. Absence acts like a mirror. It reflects actual impact, not assumed impact. Here's the psychological twist. For women who have lived inside a world of automatic approval, neutral male behavior can feel like hostility. Not because the man is doing something wrong, but because he isn't doing what she's always counted on. Supplying emotional labor, offering reassurance, inflating her value with attention, making her the center of the interaction. He isn't chasing, he isn't rewarding, he isn't supplying the predictable, your wanted signals on demand. He's simply existing without centering her. And in that gap between what she expected and what she received, panic is born. Because when a man's attention isn't guaranteed, she has to confront a reality she's never had to face with urgency. Interest is not automatic. Validation is not owed. Influence is not universal. This is the indifference trigger, and it starts long before dating ever begins. Little girls grow up in a world that frequently rewards their presence. Adults are softer. People smile. Compliments come easily. Attention arrives for being cute, for being pretty, for being sweet. None of this is evil. It's cultural. It's how societies tend to socialize girls. Over time, a mental model forms. I show up, the world responds. Then adolescence hits, and the attention accelerates. Boys stare. Male attention becomes louder. Social media amplifies everything. A photo can produce instant affirmation. She doesn't think of it as privilege. It feels like reality. Her emotional baseline becomes my presence produces reaction. And when that's your baseline for years, you begin to unconsciously expect it the way you expect gravity. Then adulthood arrives, and the environment changes. Beauty still matters, charm still matters, but men notice and don't orbit. Men look and keep walking. Men are polite and don't pursue. And the biggest shock of all, men have options. Real options, global options, digital options, social options, emotional options that don't depend on female approval. Men are no longer in drought conditions where any attention feels like water. They can choose, they can ignore, they can walk away. And when that happens, her childhood training collides with adult reality. The formula that used to run automatically, I exist, I get rewarded, stops working. Not because she lost value, because men changed. They don't react to every signal. They don't melt under every flirt. They don't validate by reflex. So for the first time, she has to face a world where attention isn't guaranteed. And when the floor of certainty disappears, panic fills the space. Now let's go deeper, because this isn't just about a room or a bar. The real shift shows up inside relationships. The chaos doesn't start in the talking stage. It starts when a man stops doing the things he was never supposed to be doing in the first place. No more planning elaborate dates just to prove he's worthy. No more texting all day to regulate her anxiety. No more jumping into every emotional storm to earn temporary peace. No more chasing cold behavior to win her back. No more begging for affection like it's a prize. When he stops overinvesting, she feels it before he says a word. The energy changes, the gravity changes, the dynamic changes. Here's a simple scenario that represents 100 real ones. A man finally decides to match her energy instead of carrying the emotional weight alone. If she gives warmth, he meets it. If she pulls back, he lets her. If she becomes cold, he stops trying to thaw the ice. For the first time, he's balanced. Not distant, balanced. But to her, it can feel like abandonment because his effort was previously covering for her inconsistency. So she calls him emotionally unavailable, distant, closed off. Not because he became worse, but because his effort stopped hiding the gap. That's the part most people avoid saying out loud. Many women don't miss the man, they miss the management. They miss the constant reassurance. They miss the predictable supply of attention. They miss the power of knowing he'll always chase if they withdraw. So when he stops, panic meets accountability. She finally has to see what he spent months compensating for. And to understand why this hits so hard in modern dating, you have to understand what social media did to the human brain. Social media didn't just change communication, it created validation addicts. For years, a single selfie could generate a flood of attention. Likes, comments, DMs, men lining up to prove desire. And because it was easy, the brain adjusted. It learned the loop: post, receive reward, repeat. That loop becomes emotional regulation. When you feel low, you post. When you feel uncertain, you post. When you want proof you still have it, you post. But now men have started pulling away from feeding that machine. They don't like. They don't comment. They don't chase the highlight reel. They don't reward thirst traps. And the shift didn't happen with a public announcement. It happened quietly. Silence became the new rebellion. Here's a story that captures it. A woman tries to get her ex's attention after weeks of no contact. First post, casual mirror picture, no reaction. Second post, more polished, still nothing. Third post, going out tonight photo, the one that used to bring him back. Still nothing. That's when the panic starts. Not because she misses him in a pure way, but because the lever she used to pull no longer moves him. Attention used to be leverage. Now it's gone. And when the reward disappears, withdrawal hits. Not withdrawal from love, withdrawal from validation. Because for many people, validation wasn't a compliment. It was a stabilizer. When it dries up, the nervous system starts searching for it, refreshing notifications like a hungry reflex. Now let's talk about tactics, because there's a moment in modern dating nobody warns women about. The moment their old strategies stop working. For years, certain patterns produced predictable results. Jealousy games pulled reactions. Silent treatment created anxiety. Emotional chaos triggered overcorrecting. Withholding intimacy restored control. Threatening to leave forced apologies. Sometimes these tactics were learned from friends, sometimes from media, sometimes from past trauma. Sometimes they weren't even conscious, but they worked because men reacted. Then men stopped reacting. Jealousy bait. She mentions another guy to trigger competition. The man nods and keeps moving. No argument. No spiral. Silent treatment. He uses the free time. He trains. He sleeps. He works. No chasing. Emotional chaos. Raised voice. Dramatic storms. He doesn't match it. He stays calm. And without fuel, the chaos burns out faster. Withholding intimacy used to feel like leverage. Now he has standards. He understands a connection isn't a prize. It's a mutual exchange. Threatening to leave, used to force a man into begging. Now he listens. He says, "If that's what you need, I won't stop you." And suddenly the threat becomes a mirror. This is where many women face a harsh realization. Their influence was built not on connection, but on reaction management. When men stop reacting, manipulation collapses. What remains is the real work: relational skill, communication, warmth, accountability, consistency, the ability to love without control. And many discover they never learned those skills because they never had to. As long as attention was automatic, effort wasn't mandatory. Now we reach one of the most uncomfortable truths the modern dating world has exposed. Men choose peace over potential every time. And when men are not desperate, they don't pick based only on looks. They pick based on life impact. How do I feel around her? Do I feel respected? Do I feel calm? Does she add stability or chaos? Does she bring appreciation or entitlement? Is she consistent or strategically inconsistent? This is why the comparison is hitting harder now. Because while one woman approaches dating with demands, requirements, attitude, take it or leave it, a resume of restrictions, another woman shows up with warmth, softness, loyalty, support, and genuine respect. Men are choosing the second one. And the panic isn't just men are pulling away. The panic is other women are offering what I thought I didn't need to offer. Because competition exists, not just competition of appearance, competition of value, emotional stability, kindness, respect, femininity, partnership energy, the ability to build peace. A lot of women were never trained to compete on those terms because the old market rewarded attention extraction, not contribution. Now the market is changing, and the women who don't adapt experience it as personal crisis. Now, we need to talk about timing because it's part of the underlying pressure. Women and men often experience their 30s very differently. Many women feel an increasing urgency around stability, commitment, family, long-term partnership. That pressure isn't moral. It's practical. Time and options feel different. The desire to build something lasting becomes stronger. Meanwhile, many men experience their 30s as an expansion. Career improves, confidence improves, social status improves, emotional maturity improves. Options often increase, so you get a natural mismatch. Women feel the clock, men feel the open road. That mismatch amplifies anxiety when men stop offering default attention. Because the quiet truth is this: the older you get, the more you need reciprocity. You can't rely on surface level leverage forever. You need real partnership. Now add another factor that intensifies the panic: the nice guy safety net. For years, many women kept a dependable man in orbit: the stable admirer, the reliable backup, the man who was always kind, always available, always waiting. She may not choose him in her 20s, but she keeps him close enough to feel secure. Then something happens. He stops waiting. He levels up. He moves on. And when she turns around later, thinking, now I'm ready for the good guy, she discovers he's gone. Not bitter, not angry, just unavailable. That's where the panic becomes existential, not heartbreak, realization. The disappearance of a guaranteed option, its consequence, not punishment. While she was exploring, he was building. While she was undecided, he was advancing. And now he's someone else's first choice. For many women, this is the first time they experience what men have always known. If you don't choose someone, someone else will. Now let's bring it back to the core of this entire shift. Masculine men trigger a specific kind of panic, not because they're controlling, not because they're aggressive, because they're unmoved. They don't chase. They don't negotiate with drama. They don't reward manipulation. They don't lose emotional control. They have standards. For a woman who has only dated insecure men, men hungry for approval, this feels like hitting a wall. Because weak men bend instantly, Strong men evaluate. Here's a simple composite story. At a dinner gathering, she tests him with playful disrespect. He doesn't react. She pulls back to create anxiety. He gives space without chasing. She drops a jealous comment to spark tension. He smiles and continues his conversation. She escalates into guilt. You're not paying enough attention to me. He looks at her calmly and says, if you need control to feel secure, I'm not your guy. That's when she spirals. Not because he was rude, because her old tools don't work. A masculine man doesn't panic when she withdraws. She panics when he doesn't. Now we add the final amplifier. The dating world is global. A man is no longer limited to his neighborhood, his city, his country. He can meet women through travel, social platforms, communities, mutual networks, global friendships that become relationships. He can talk to women who value him in a way his local environment never did. An appreciation changes a man. When a man learns he can be respected, valued, and treated well elsewhere, entitlement loses its grip. So women who relied on local dominance, the mindset that I'm the best option here, he'll chase me, are blindsided by a new reality. Geography no longer protects leverage. A man can simply choose peace somewhere else, not as a threat, as a fact. Now we arrive at the deepest layer. For some women, the panic isn't about men pulling away. It's about identity collapse. If a woman built her self-worth around the ability to pull male attention, then the disappearance of that attention doesn't feel like a dating inconvenience. It feels like losing the mirror she used to confirm her value. Because attention wasn't a compliment, it was measurement. So when men go quiet, when the likes slow down, when the orbiters disappear, she isn't just losing admiration. She's losing the version of herself that was built on constant validation. Now, the rebuilding begins. And it's painful, because to thrive in a world where male attention is no longer automatic, she has to develop what the old system didn't require. Character, real personality, kindness without manipulation, communication without leverage, emotional maturity, reciprocity, the ability to bring peace, not just extract attention. That transition is not graceful. It feels like learning to walk again as an adult. And this is why the shift is happening. Men have evolved. Men talk to each other now. They compare experiences. They share patterns. They learn language for what they used to tolerate silently. They study psychology, boundaries, manipulation, relationship dynamics. They recognize red flags earlier. They don't romanticize disrespect anymore. They build discipline. They build careers. They build bodies. They build self-respect that doesn't depend on approval. And with that comes something women didn't expect from the average man: standards. Men now demand reciprocity. They expect effort back, warmth back, respect back, loyalty back. Attention isn't a default reward anymore. It's earned. So when a woman meets these men and her usual tactics fall flat, she experiences something unfamiliar. A man who won't bend. Not because he's cold, because he's grown. Here's the truth. Most people don't say, out loud, women aren't panicking because men changed. They're panicking because men stopped complying. For years, male attention was automatic, a constant stream, a safety net, a background certainty. It created an identity built on one assumption. No matter what I do, men will always want me. That era is ending. Men are withdrawing their attention not with rage, but with awareness. They stopped rewarding disrespect. They stopped entertaining emotional games. They stopped chasing women who gave nothing back. And suddenly, many women are standing in a space they've never experienced. Silence. No automatic validation. No guaranteed admirers. No fallback orbit. This is not cruelty. It's consequence. It's the end of the old contract. Now let's end with clarity, not conflict. Men aren't being cruel. They're being selective. They're choosing where their time, energy, and attention go. Not out of bitterness, but out of maturity. Women who adapt, who bring value, who understand reciprocity, who can build peace, will thrive in this landscape. Women who expect automatic attention, who rely on entitlement or beauty alone, will experience the shift as panic because the rules have changed. Men are no longer chasing by default, they're investing with intention. So here's the challenge to every man listening: build yourself, protect your standards, keep your boundaries clean and calm. Give attention where it's appreciated, not where it's demanded. Choose women who bring peace and respect, not women who treat attention like a birthright. And when you see that panic around you, understand what it really is. It's not proof you did something wrong. It's proof the old system depended on your compliance, and you've stopped complying. That's not cold. That's growth.